Garuda's summoning logic. There's a weird little plot hole in Naruto that doesn't get talked about much, and it's all about Sasuke's summoning ability in Kaguya's dimension. A logic-breaking moment that kind of throws the entire ninja world's established rules out the window. So, in the final arc, when Team 7 got yeeted into Kaguya's different pocket dimensions, Sasuke casually summoned Garuda, his giant hawk, with zero issues. No struggle, no special conditions, just poof, and there it was. But here's the fun part. According to the already established rules, all summoned creatures exist on the same planet as humans. They may live in special places like Mount Myoboku, Toadland, Ryuchi Cave, Snake Lair, or Shikkotsu Forest, Slug City, but they're still in the same physical reality. Nowhere in the manga or anime does it suggest that summoned creatures can chill in other dimensions or parallel universes. And Garuda? Bro, it's literally just a regular hawk from somewhere on Earth. Sasuke just summoned, and it came flying in. Now, here's where things get messier. Infinite Tsukuyomi. We know for a fact that this genjutsu affects every living thing touched by the moon's light. That light was everywhere, covering the entire planet, leaving no one untouched, except those with Rinnegan. So, the big question is, if Garuda was chilling somewhere on Earth like every other summoned animal, how did it dodge the effects of infinite Tsukuyomi? And if it was caught in it, how the hell did Sasuke summon it inside Kaguya's dimension? Or if Garuda wasn't on Earth, then where was it? And why does summoning jutsu suddenly work across dimensions now? So, forget Naruto, my friends. Garuda is the real GOAT here. The only summon beast that casually ignores all the fundamental laws of space, time, and ninja physics. Exciting, isn't it? Our channel is a treasure trove of information, analysis, drama, humor, and epic battles from the shinobi world. So hit that subscribe button now to join the ultimate fan squad. This is your chance to dive into high-quality content that'll have you yelling "Sugoi" every single day. We've already reached halfway to our target with over 5K subs, so let's push forward to hit 10K. Let's go. Next, Hashirama Senju's death. Hashirama Senju's death is one of the biggest plot holes in Naruto, challenging the logic and consistency of the entire series. I mean, we're talking about the god of shinobi, the strongest ninja of that time. Yet his death was never explained. How does that make sense? Hashirama was ridiculously overpowered. His self-healing ability was leagues above Tsunade's creation rebirth, and it worked automatically. No hand seals, no chakra buildup, just pure regeneration. He went toe-to-toe with Madara at the Valley of the End, fighting a fully armed Susanoo-wrapped Ninetales. And he won. So really, who could possibly defeat him? On top of that, he mastered Sage Mode, which boosted his chakra reserves and healing even further. With abilities like that, the guy was almost immortal, and yet, he somehow died young? That's where things get weird. The Edo Tensei reveal only makes this mystery worse. When Hashirama was revived, he looked like a man in his prime, not some old guy on his deathbed. This suggests that he died at the peak of his power. Meanwhile, Madara, the very guy Hashirama defeated, ended up outliving him by decades thanks to Hashirama's own cells. Yeah, let that sink in. His DNA literally kept Madara alive longer than he lived himself. Some fans say he died from an illness, but there's zero official evidence of that. Dying of old age? Also a no-go. All we know is that he passed away sometime during the First Great Ninja War. Kishimoto left a massive gap in the story by never explaining what happened. No signs of disease, no epic last battle, no assassination plot. Just a blank space where an explanation should be. Compared to well-crafted deaths like Minato's or Hiruzen's, Hashirama's death feels like an unfinished story, leaving fans with nothing but theories and speculation. Susanoo without eyes. And here we go again. Another Madara and Susanoo mystery. When Madara was revived with Rinne Tensei after his Edo Tensei phase, something absolutely wild happened. We already knew that Edo Madara could use both Rinnegan and Sharingan because Kabuto resurrected him at his peak. But when he was actually brought back to life, reality hit him like a truck. Before he died, he had already given away his eyes to Nagato, meaning he had no real eyes left. That's why, when he first came back, he was literally fighting with his eyes closed. Because, well, he was blind. And yet, when Gaara and Shukaku almost sealed him away, Madara just casually pulled out a Susanoo and broke free. Excuse me? That completely breaks everything we know about how the Sharingan works. Susanoo has always required both Mangekyo Sharingan. If Madara can just summon Susanoo with no eyes at all, then what even are the limits of the Sharingan anymore? This sets a pretty dangerous precedent. If a character is strong enough, they can just ignore the rules of their own abilities. And if one rule can be broken for plot convenience, then what's stopping others from being tossed aside too? So, either Madara is out here summoning Susanoo with sheer willpower and memories, or we've just found ourselves a big fat plot hole. Some people argue that once you've unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes, you can use Susanoo forever, even if you lose your actual eyes, meaning it's supposedly a body ability, not an eye ability. Okay, so let me get this straight, Sasuke, or even Madara from the Warring States period, who both spammed Susanoo to the point of nearly going blind, should still be able to use it even if they actually went blind? Yeah, not buying it. If that were true, then all the sacrifices and limitations other characters faced, like their vision deteriorating, or Sasuke literally having to transplant Itachi's eyes just to get the eternal Mangekyo, become meaningless. It takes away the tragedy, the weight of those tough decisions, and honestly, it just makes the Naruto world feel less believable. Nagato's Dojutsu. Now, when it comes to Naruto's biggest plot holes, Nagato's eyes have to be one of the most mind-boggling inconsistencies Kishimoto ever, intentionally or unintentionally, created. This isn't just a minor slip-up. It completely undermines the entire logic of Dojutsu inheritance, and messes with one of the most important character arcs in the series. So, here's the deal. Madara secretly implanted his Rinnegan into Nagato when he was just a kid. This was all part of Madara's long-term plan for revival. Sounds straightforward, right? Well, not exactly. We know that Madara lost one of his Sharingan after using Izanagi to cheat death in his fight against Hashirama. Later on, he awakened Rinnegan before dying. Now, when Madara gave his eyes to Nagato, one of them should have still had its original Sharingan properties, meaning it was a fusion of both Sharingan and Rinnegan. And yet, throughout Nagato's entire life, from his first appearance to his death, he never displayed a single Sharingan ability. No copying jutsu, no genjutsu, nothing. He mastered all the Rinnegan abilities, Shinra Tensei, Chibaku Tensei, the 6 Paths of Pain, but never once activated Sharingan's core powers. It's almost like he had no idea his eyes were ever capable of it. Like, how does that even work? This is one of those completely unexplainable contradictions. Sharingan is a dojutsu that activates naturally when the user experiences extreme emotions or life or death situations. And let's be real, Nagato went through hell. Dude lost his parents in war, watched his best friend Yahiko die, and lived through some of the worst conflicts in ninja history. And yet, somehow, he awakened Rinnegan but never activated Sharingan. Like, even if he only had one Sharingan, he should have still been able to use some of its abilities, right? Obito did it. Kakashi did it. But Nagato, nothing. This guy was a beast when it came to jutsu, yet he never once tapped into Sharingan's potential. Nagato didn't even know he had someone else's eyes for years. So what? Was Madara's Rinnegan layered like a Photoshop file? Did he just peel off the Rinnegan layer and leave the Sharingan for himself? Nope. The dude was blind when he got revived, both eyes completely shut. Compared to some other plot holes in Naruto, this one is sneaky. It's hidden in the small details, but once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Konoha's Uzumaki oversight. Here's something a lot of people don't really think about: the way the villagers of Konoha treated Naruto, and the huge logical inconsistency in how they dismissed his Uzumaki lineage. If we break it down, it's kinda weird. Like sure, hating Naruto because he had the nine tails inside him totally makes sense. Konoha went through hell during the attack, and trauma makes people act irrationally. But completely underestimating him, thinking he was a failure? Now that part doesn't make sense at all when you remember where he came from. The Uzumaki clan wasn't just some random footnote in history. They were one of Konoha's closest allies. The iconic spiral symbol on every Leaf Ninja's uniform is literally a tribute to the Uzumaki. These guys were chakra monsters, had insanely long lifespans, and were so ridiculously good at sealing jutsu that multiple nations had to team up just to wipe them off the map a few decades before Naruto was born. And here's where it gets even crazier. The Uzumaki weren't just respected, they were deeply connected to Konoha's leadership. Two of Konoha's 5 Hokage at the time were married to Uzumaki women, Hashirama with Mito and Minato with Kushina. And let's not forget, both Mito and Kushina were the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki before Naruto. So how is it possible that nobody in the village seemed to remember or care about this? This isn't some obscure trivia. Kakashi, Tsunade, and Jiraiya were all old enough to know about Kushina, and they definitely knew about the destruction of Uzushiogakure. A major allied nation getting completely erased from the map isn't the kind of thing that just gets quietly swept under the rug. Yet somehow, Naruto was treated like some random loser with zero potential? Yeah, something definitely doesn't add up. And then there's the whole thing about giving Naruto the Uzumaki surname instead of Namikaze, Minato's last name, to protect him. That makes no sense at all. If the goal was to hide Naruto's identity, why slap him with the name of a clan that's rare and kinda terrifying? That's like trying to hide Konohamaru's Sarutobi lineage by renaming him Senju. You're just making him an even bigger target. If the other villages were debating whether they should take out the Yellow Flash's kid, finding out he's also an Uzumaki would just crank up the threat level even more. Some might argue that Uzumakis were still common in Konoha because of their long-standing alliance. No, do we ever see any other Uzumakis in Konoha in the series? Mito and Kushina were both outsiders who moved to the village, and every time an Uzumaki is mentioned, it's treated like a super rare event. This contradiction kind of messes with the consistency of Naruto's world and makes a lot of character motivations feel weird. Like, shouldn't the older folks in the village know how powerful the Uzumaki bloodline is? Maybe even respect Naruto for it instead of treating him like trash? This isn't just some tiny plot hole. It's a fundamental contradiction that weakens one of the core themes of the story, an outcast proving his worth. If people really understood what it meant to be an Uzumaki, Naruto's whole underdog struggle would have played out way differently. Edo Tensei plot hole. Alright, this one's a big deal. It's a plot hole that seriously weakens the image of Tobirama Senju, the so-called genius inventor of the hidden leaf. So, we all know Madara was brought back by Kabuto using Edo Tensei, basically returning from the dead at full power. Then, in a move that had everyone's jaws on the floor, this guy just casually performs a few hand signs and breaks free from the summoning contract, making himself a completely independent Edo Tensei. No more control, no more restrictions, just Madara doing Madara things. And here's the crazy part. He pulled this off effortlessly, like he had known the mechanics of Edo Tensei for years. But where did he learn it? There was never any mention of him studying or even knowing about Edo Tensei before his death. Now, let's compare that to Tobirama, the literal creator of Edo Tensei. When Orochimaru summoned him, he couldn't break free. Yeah, he was about to do something, but before he could, Orochimaru just flexed Hashirama's cells and reinforced the control. And boom, Tobirama was completely shut down. Not once did he show any sign of knowing how to escape Edo Tensei like Madara did. Like, how does that make sense? How does the guy who invented Edo Tensei not know how to undo it, But Madara, who had never even been associated with the technique before, figures it out in record time. The Tsunade Hashirama paradox. One of the weirdest plot holes in Naruto has to be the timeline mess surrounding Tsunade and her grandfather, Hashirama Senju. So, when Hashirama gets revived in the Fourth Great Ninja War, he casually talks about Tsunade, knows her gambling habits, compares her strength to Sakura, and just acts like he's been watching her grow up this whole time. But here's the thing, logically, that makes no sense. Let's break it down by timeline. First, young Hashirama and Tobirama era. These two were already seasoned ninjas, running around wrecking fools left and right. At this time, Hiruzen was just a kid, probably 5 to 10 years old, and was learning directly from them. Then, Hashirama's death. The exact time isn't clear, but we know he died relatively young. Why? Because Tobirama took over as Hokage and led for a while before he also sacrificed himself in war. And next, Hiruzen becomes Hokage. By the time Tobirama died, Hiruzen was only around 20 to 22 years old. And now comes the problem. According to the official databook, Hiruzen is 18 years older than Tsunade. That means when Hiruzen became Hokage at 22 years old, Tsunade was just a 4-year-old kid. And guess what? Hashirama had already been dead for a while before Hiruzen even became Hokage. So, logically speaking, Hashirama either died before Tsunade was even born or passed away when she was still a toddler, barely out of diapers. There's just no way he could have lived long enough to see her grow up, develop a gambling addiction, or become a legendary fighter. Now picture this, Hashirama standing there, confidently talking about Tsunade's habits, skills, and personality, when, based on the actual timeline, the last time he could have seen her, she was probably still learning how to walk. That's where we hit the big question. Did Kishimoto intentionally ignore this timeline mess just to create an emotional grandfather-granddaughter moment? Or was it just an unfortunate oversight in the story's continuity? This inconsistency is just one of many, as Naruto's world expanded, and Kishimoto had to keep adding new characters and relationships. The more the series grew, the harder it became to keep everything lined up. Orochimaru's resurrection. Orochimaru's so-called miraculous resurrection in Naruto is easily one of the most blatant plot holes in the series, completely contradicting the very foundation of his character that Kishimoto built over hundreds of chapters. This is a guy defined by his obsession with immortality, someone who dedicated his entire life to researching forbidden jutsu, creating Fushi Tensei, living corpse reincarnation, a ridiculously complex technique that requires him to steal a new body every few years just to survive. Orochimaru went through countless horrific experiments, betrayed the Leaf Village, joined the Akatsuki, and committed war crimes on a daily basis, all in pursuit of eternal life. And yet, Sasuke somehow brings him back way too easily. By reversing the curse mark on Anko, where Orochimaru's soul was supposedly sealed, and mixing in a tiny piece of Kabuto's flesh, which still contained some of his chakra. That's it. No elaborate ritual, no body-hopping drama. Just welcome back, sensei. The logical inconsistency here is insane when you actually think about it. Orochimaru's soul was partially sealed away by Hiruzen in the Reaper Death Seal. Then he got killed by Sasuke and trapped inside a genjutsu. His remaining essence was stuck inside Anko's curse mark, while Kabuto absorbed some of his DNA through experiments. Up until this point, all of that made perfect sense within the established lore of the Naruto world. Sasuke, a dude who has zero background in resurrection or immortality jutsu, manages to do something that Orochimaru himself spent his entire life chasing. Not only that, but Orochimaru comes back in his original body, physical body, fully restored, no need for a new host, no drawbacks, nothing. Like, what? This brings up a huge question about Orochimaru's entire journey. If coming back was this easy, then why did he even bother developing Fushi Tensei and hunting for strong bodies like Sasuke's? Why did he need to swap bodies every 3 years? And most importantly, how the heck did a tiny piece of flesh and a curse Mark regenerate his entire body? And let's not forget, dude said he was weak when he came back, but he could still fight, save Tsunade, and even revive multiple Kage. Absolute legend. Kishimoto doesn't even try to explain any of this. It feels like he just sacrificed logic for the sake of keeping the plot moving. Well, this plot hole really messes with Orochimaru's personal story. It also undermines some of the core themes in Naruto, like sacrifice, struggle, and consequences. My friends, don't get me wrong, I love Naruto, I really do. It's one of my favorite series. But sometimes, man, the plot holes just stand out to me. And honestly, I kinda enjoy noticing them. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.